Science is constantly evolving. New discoveries and the human interpretation of discoveries requires us to continually examine and re-examine all of our assumptions and definitions. To demonstrate this, we're going to explore the way the definition of a planet has evolved over time.
By the end of this unit, we hope that you will be able to recognize the way that the term planet is defined today based on the definition provided us by the International Astronomical Union. But more importantly, we want you to be able to construct an argument for or against that definition using sound reasoning supported by evidence.
To start with, we should discuss where the term planet came from. The word planet originally comes from the Greek and Latin words that mean wander. This is because planets were points of light that wandered across the sky against the backdrop of otherwise stationary stars. Hence, planets were defined as any point of light in the sky that moved with respect to the stars. However, such a definition would certainly not work today. Most of us have seen man-made satellites moving with irregular, predictable paths against the backdrop of the stars, and none of us think that they belong in the same category as planets. Fortunately, that definition was abandoned long ago.
Under this old definition, the term planet included Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and, believe it or not, the Sun and the Moon. Eventually, however, people realized all of the planets, including the Earth, were actually orbiting the Sun. So planets were defined as worlds that orbit the Sun. Uranus and Neptune were eventually discovered in 1781 and in 1846 respectively, which didn't pose a problem since they fit general definition. The same was true when Pluto was discovered in 1930. It was a world that orbited the Sun, just like the others, but a bit smaller than the rest.
There were some questions raised when Ceres was discovered in 1801 though. It was round, but quite small compared to the Moon. We eventually decided that Ceres would be considered a very large asteroid instead, the queen of the asteroids. The real problem came in 2005, when another object was discovered beyond Neptune that was even larger than Pluto. Named Eris, this celestial body even had its own moon. People quickly called it the 10th planet.
However, there were two other objects found the same year in the same area of space, Makemake and Haumea. Scientists began to wonder if there wasn't a whole belt of small, round, Pluto-sized objects out beyond Neptune, in what they began calling the Kuiper Belt. Soon enough, they found dozens and dozens of objects out there. So, were Eris, Makemake, Haumea, and others planet? If Pluto was, certainly they were too. Nobody could agree.
So in 2006, the International Astronomical Union met and discussed the issue. The debate was complex, but here's what they decided. A planet was any object that one, orbits the Sun, and two, is large enough that its own gravity makes it round, and three, which has cleared the neighborhood of its orbit around the Sun. A dwarf planet, in contrast, was any object that one, orbits the Sun, and two, is large enough that its own gravity makes it round, but which hasn't cleared the neighborhood of its orbit.
In other words, Pluto is round, and it orbits the Sun, but it hasn't cleared the neighborhood of its orbit. Other similarly sized objects share its orbit. To be a planet, it has to be powerful enough to clear the area it travels through its gravity and influence. So Pluto is a dwarf planet. At the same time, so is Ceres, the huge asteroid. It's big enough that it's become round too. But the other asteroids are not dwarf planets because they aren't big enough to have become round.
This definition isn't perfect though. Pluto crosses orbits with Neptune occasionally. Does that mean that Neptune isn't a planet? Jupiter had a large amount of asteroids sharing its orbit. So many that they even have a name, the Jupiter Trojan. So what's the cutoff point? Also, how do we know if objects orbiting distant stars are planets? We don't have telescopes that can see whether or not they meet all the criteria. Also, some complained that only a few astronomers were able to participate in creating the definition.
The debate continues today. It's exciting to see how these scientific developments unfold. The back and forth of various ideas and proposals, argument weighed against counter-argument. So what do you think? For your activity, you'll have the opportunity to practice making a case for or against the IAU's definition, and for or against Pluto being included as a planet.